So one of the things that we want to start with is choosing a good topic. So I'm just going to write that over here. Choosing a good topic. What makes a good topic? While I'm writing this, why don't you shout out 3 things that make a good topic? How many of you said that a good topic should be something that you are familiar with? Maybe it's a topic you already know something about, which is kind of what we just talked about. That would be a good idea. How many of you said choosing a good topic involves knowing if there's a lot of information on that topic already out there in the universe? That's a really good point. I've seen a lot of students in the past choose topics that they're super excited about. And then when they got to finding their research about the topic, they discovered there really weren't a lot of sources. Or if there were sources out there, they didn't really understand them because they were written more for adult readers. So one of the things that might help you, even before you get started, is to think about, what's already written on this topic that will help me understand it. So choosing a good topic might involve the following things. First of all, something you are familiar with. And what you might do is make a list of those things. So why don't you do that now? Make a list of 10 things that you would say you know quite a lot about. So something you are familiar with. So if I were going to make this list, I might start with what I just talked about. Maybe I start about frogs or wildflowers. I've been looking at a lot of wildflowers lately as well. Maybe I would put, what else do I know a lot about? Astronomy. I know we got some astronomy buffs out there. Greek culture. Maybe I come up with 5 things. Let's not go too crazy. What would be a 5th one? How about corgis? Yeah. I think it's time to take a quick peek at the corgi cam and see what Piper is up to. Maybe she's sleeping, or maybe she's cleaning the house. Let's take a look. So I brainstormed some things that I'm familiar with, okay? I know already that I have a few books in my house about frogs and wildflowers. I have some books on astronomy. Greek culture, well, I don't know how many books I have on that, but I'm sure there are some resources online I could look at. Plus, I have a lot of people I know who are Greek and who could help me with that. Maybe I could interview them to find out some more information. Corgis, well, I live with one, so I have some personal experience with corgis. And I also know people who breed corgis and show them, so Piper's former owner being one of them. So I'm trying to think of all the possible resources that I could tap into to find out more information. The cool thing about what's happening right now, I mean, it is a little bit sad, it's very sad that we can't access our libraries in the ways that we usually want to, but it allows us to be a little more creative about how we're going to find out more information. So I'm listing some topics that I'm familiar with already. Then I might want to look at gathering some materials. Okay, so once we get some topics that we're interested in, we want to look at where are the materials where I can find more information. So gathering some materials is going to be kind of on our future to-do list. Okay? The thing that we want to remember, and I think I said this from the beginning, it should be something that interests you. Something that interests you. If it doesn't interest you, then you're going to have a hard time convincing your reader that you're excited about it. And then finally, something that you can have some evidence for, okay? So a good topic would have something maybe that you can make a claim about. And have good evidence for. I'm going to leave a little space for a few more ideas, and maybe I'll put out a little something for you to send me some of your ideas, and we can add to the list. We could even type this up and have a running list of things that would make a good topic. So what I'm going to recommend, I'm going to get a new piece of paper here. I'm going to recommend that you make a chart, okay? And the chart's going to have sort of 3 columns. You'll notice I am using blank paper because I realized I don't even know if I have any lined paper in my house. There must be some somewhere. So I'm using blank paper. You can use lined paper. You can even type this on a document if it makes you feel happy inside. So you're going to write on this side, I know a lot. Dot, dot, dot. And you're going to write in the middle, I know some. And on the right side, I know a little. Okay? And I'm going to show you how I did mine. So I know a lot, and I'm going to say Michigan frogs. I'd say I know a fair amount about Michigan frogs. I can name some. I know what they look like. I can identify them. I know some about why they come out in the spring. I know some about what they look like. And for that, I know a little bit about size. I know a little bit about shape, color. I can identify a wood frog. I can identify a spring peeper. I can identify a green frog or a bullfrog. I know a little bit about, I'm going to call it timing of emergence. So I know that it has to do with lighting. I know it has to do with temperature, but I don't know. So I guess a question I might put here is, why do certain frogs come out before others? I'm guessing it has something to do with their food, but then that makes me think, whoa, do all frogs eat the same kinds of food, or are they eating different kinds of insects? Those are some questions that I have. So what I'm noticing is that as I'm thinking about my topics, in the a little section, it's giving me a lot of questions that maybe I really don't know the answers to. And so that's something to think about when you're looking at what you know. You're going to end up probably in this column having some real questions about that. So this is a very common strategy for writers. Anytime they're picking a topic, they're going to start with what they know the best, and then they go from there. And the same thing happens with researchers. If you're a scientist, if you're a journalist or an author, anyone who's doing any kind of research, they're always going to start with what they know a lot of and what they're familiar with. And then they're going to try to figure out, what can I learn more about, or what are the gaps that I need to fill in as I go. I'm thinking about Maya right now because Maya just, she and I had a little conversation in writing about cooking, and I was asking her if she was doing a lot of cooking projects. And so one thing, she might consider, let's say Maya's a cooking expert. So she might put over here, I know a lot about cooking. Or I know how to make these certain meals really well, or these certain kinds of food. So maybe she could put cooking in this far left column because she knows a lot about cooking. She's pretty confident about that. But then maybe she only knows some things about baking. So maybe that's an area that she's not as familiar with. She knows something about it, but maybe like all of her baking efforts get stuck to the pan. I know that sometimes happens to me. I don't know if it happens to Maya. I'm just making this up as I go. So maybe she only knows some things about baking, but then she wants to learn a little bit more about like why things mix together. So why things mix together to make good food. So maybe more about the chemistry of cooking. So I'll even put that, the chemistry of cooking. One time, this is kind of a funny story, one time my mom sent me on my bike to the grocery store to get vanilla extract for cooking. And I had to bike there down the hill, it was a big hill, and then I had to bike all the way up. And when I got back home after riding all the way up the hill, I discovered that, my mom discovered that I got almond extract instead of vanilla extract. And then I had to go all the way back and return the almond extract. So even stuff like that, like what makes certain ingredients good together and other ingredients not. So that might be something that I might want to research more about. What makes cookies flat versus round? Emily Gilbert is a cookie expert, and Isaac is a cookie making expert. So maybe they would have some information. Again, you can use your friends as resources, especially if they're experts. What makes cookies flat or round? I know when my aunt makes chocolate chip cookies, her famous recipe, they're really soft. So maybe that's soft or crunchy, So these are things that you could be learning about. So did you notice that I didn't just stop in one column? I started in one column, and then I kind of broke it down a little bit more, and then I went into it in a little more detail and started coming up with some questions. So I took one idea. So I wasn't just making a list of ideas, which is something that we've done in the past. So what are the 10 ideas of things that I know a lot about? And then we kind of stopped there. So instead of just stopping there, we're probing a little bit farther, and we're saying, okay, I know about this, but maybe I don't know as much about this. Okay, I know about this, but maybe I don't know as much. So what I want to have you do, this is your assignment for today, is to fill up a page or more of a big list. I'm going to say 10 things. All right? So 10 topics. Let's do it that way. 10 topics that you can fill in a list like this. And I would like for you to, for your work today, is to fill up a page with your 10 topics that you know a lot about, and then break it down into these other sections. All right? Any questions about that, you can always send me an email. Okay, so that's assignment number 1 for Wednesday, and then we'll check in